Chair calls this January 7th Stanley County Board of Education meeting to order. I'd like to welcome all of you here tonight. It was a little cool when we came in. I've hit the button, so it may get too hot in a little while. I don't know, so bear with it. We'll get there. I'd like to recognize Miss Vicki Watson for her invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray with me, please. Lord, I come to you with a most grateful heart for all that you do for us. Please help us to make wise decisions for our students and our staff. Help us be aware of the new year where great things can happen with the help of your hand. I ask these in thy name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hope everyone's had a good Christmas vacation and ready to start the new year off with a fresh start and a bang. Have some recognitions tonight, which we always enjoy doing. And Chair will recognize Dr. Jeff James to do the recognitions.
Chairman Poole, I want to ask Vicki Calverts would join me at the podium. We're going to recognize National Board Certification, North Carolina STEM Award, and then Life Changer Awards. We actually have 18 of those tonight, and I think you'll be pleased with that presentation, all the great work we've got going on.
If you'll recall, in our December meeting, we recognized teachers that renewed their National Board certification. This evening, I'm pleased to bring to your attention, we have one teacher that has attained her National Board certification for the first time. Lynn Carpenter, if you're in the audience, please come forward. Apparently she wasn't able to make it, but we do want to recognize Miss Lynn Carpenter, teacher from Locust Elementary School. I'd like to ask Jennifer Snyder to come forward, please. Ms. Snyder is the STEM teacher at Oakboro STEM School. And the North Carolina Science Teachers Association Outstanding Science Teacher Awards are presented to recognize excellence in science teaching in North Carolina to teachers who exemplify excellent, creative, and innovative teaching of science. We are proud tonight that our very own Jennifer Snyder received this award. This honor is determined by other science educators and serves as recognition of Ms. Snyder's professional excellence and contributions to science in teaching and learning. Congratulations, Jennifer. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, next we have Mr. Poplin with us. If he will come up, Life Changer of the Year Award, he's going to tell us a little bit about that, but it's a national award. I think the Snap actually wrote a little bit about it today in one of the articles. But we're glad to say that we have 18 of those in our district, and I think last year we only had 49 in the state of North Carolina. So a phenomenal feat for our teachers and respect for all the hard work they do in their classrooms. It doesn't have to be a teacher. We actually have an SRO sitting here that got Life Changer of the Year, and believe it or not, your superintendent got one. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Poplin and let him explain a little bit about the Life Changer of the Year award.
Chairman Poole, members of the board, Dr. James. I'm Tony Poplin, and I work in the Stanley County School District. I'm proud to represent Value Teachers and National Life Group. We work with school employees all across the country to prepare them for retirement with savings solutions that supplement their pension, 401k, whatever they have. I've worked in this district for several years, and I'm a proud product of this district. Tonight, though, I would like to present to you the Life Changer of the Year program, sponsored and administered by National Life Group and the National Life Group Foundation. Life Changer of the Year is an annual program recognizing K through 12 educators and school employees across the country. Our program celebrates those who are making a significant difference in the lives of students by exemplifying excellence, positive influence, and leadership. There are 17 major awards with this program, the grand prize being $10,000, $5,000 to the individual, and $5,000 to the school. National Life has been described as having a business strategy for standing out in a sea of sameness. The business principles to have accomplished this recognition include our mission, keeping our promises, our vision to bring peace of mind to everyone we touch, our values, do good, be good, and make good. Now let us recognize the Life Changer of the Year nominees. Dr. James is here, and I think Ms. Calvert is going to come up.
As I call your name, if you'll come forward, please. Julie Bush. Kim Cook. Julian Fallon.
Before you go on, I would like to say, Julian doesn't know this, but her sister reached out to me and sent me an email. It's not a bad one. She said, thank you from your family from Virginia, and they're proud of you. And your sister said you made a tremendous impact in her life.
Thank
So I
you.
want to tell you that.
Sweet. Amanda Furr. Lori Green. Jessica Hayes. Kelly Hill. Rebecca Little. Joseph McKenzie. Carla McSwain. Niecy Miller.
She said she might have trouble getting in.
Gotcha. Karen Nixon. Melissa Smith. Christy Talbert.
She's the one that had surgery, and she's in the hospital, I believe.
Okay.
I think her mother was coming.
Is Christy Talbert's mother here?
She did not make it. She's taking care of her. She had surgery.
Okay. Okay. Brenda Watson. Brenda Whitley. Lynette Whitley. And last but not least, Dr. Jeff James.
There's a stress ball in these bags. She has got two.
I'll probably dust them a few nights over.
Is there any way we can get
Getting this a
together?
little smaller, yes, just like sort of,
And on one side of this podium?
maybe, yeah. I was gonna say maybe a few in front, yeah. We've done this too many times, right? Okay. Squeeze in, please. There you go. Good. Very good. I'm good.
Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Mr. Poplin. And I apologize for not passing this along a while ago. Ms. Gibson is, one of our board members is under the weather tonight, and she could not be here, so just want to let you know where she's at. Next on the agenda, we have academic accolades, and Ms. Mandy Eford, you are up.
Oh, we need a password. I'll start while Hope's coming to get this back up for us with the password. I am Mandy Eford. I am the principal at Norwood School, and I have some of my team at Norwood here with me tonight. I've got Miss Erica Thompson, who's our assistant principal, and Miss Bev Russell, who is our curriculum coach. So I'm excited to have them with us tonight and excited to share with you all the great things that we have going on at Norwood this year. Our theme this year, one of the first things I did with our school improvement team was decided on a theme that we wanted to drive what we did this year, and what the team voted on was dream it, believe it, achieve it, you matter. We want our kids, our staff, our community to know that we can do these things. We can dream it, we can believe it, and we can achieve it, and that ultimately we all matter. So we're working very hard this year to combine and to really integrate everything into it with our school, our students, and our community. And I hope that you'll see some of that tonight. We do operate on a family-centered belief system. We talk to our kids about their family. In their classrooms, that is their family. They set up in the first 10 days their mission statements and their rules as a family. How do we want to treat each other and how we want to take care of each other as a family. And our students have done a great job with that, and our staff have really helped to develop those relationships with our students. Every stakeholder has a strength to contribute to the family. Those strengths will be combined to grow our children and send them out to contribute to the world in a positive manner, and that's what we want to see with our students at Norwood. And some of those pictures there, you can see some spirit days. We had 5th grade did student-led conferences, so that's what that top picture there is, one of our students with her parents, leading her parents in her conference, and then some STEM activities there in that right picture. Looking now at our school performance overview, Norwood was a C this year, so can't you see Norwood is the place to be? We were very excited about that. And before I start that, we took some videos of our kids talking about what Norwood is and what they like about Norwood. So I think that you'll capture a lot about what's going on, and it's always good to hear from them. So we'll start with this one.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
I like that the teachers are caring and want to help us a lot. And that they help us when we need it and when we want us to get our work done, they're there to help. And then whenever we need to talk.
Get rid of this. School.
Lunch.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
I think it's a sound issue because it looks like it's playing. And the volume's up on there.
We can do a song and dance while they're waiting.
We need Kim here to say some jokes. Try now. It looks like they just turned audio on.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
I like that the teachers are caring and want to help us a lot. And that they help us when we need it and when we want us to get our work done, that they help. And then whenever we need to talk, all we need to do is go and address the principal or the teachers and they won't talk.
They cut us off. He sees it and something's going on. I wonder if we can.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
I like that the teachers are caring and want to help us a lot. And
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
I like that the teachers are caring and want to help us a lot. And that they help us when we need it and when we want us to get our work done, that they help. And then whenever we need to talk, all we need to do is go and
We'll just let it go to him next.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
I like that the teachers are caring and want to help us a lot. And that they help us when we need it and when we want us to get our work done, that they help. And then whenever we need to talk, all we need to do is go and address the principal or the teachers and they won't talk.
Try it now.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
I like that the teachers are caring and want to help us a lot. And that they help us when we need it and when we want us to get our work done, that they help. And then whenever we need to talk, all we need to do is go and address the principal or the teachers and they won't talk.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
Lunch.
Mandy Mountain, they like your food wherever you are. So looking at some of our data, we are 62.81% free and reduced lunch, so we are a Title I school. Our overall performance grade this year was a 61%, giving us a C. That was up from a D last year at 50%, so we are very proud of the work that the staff did last year. We are all new to Norwood, so the staff who was there definitely deserves the recognition there. They have come a long way, and we look forward to seeing where that will go this year. Our growth index last year was a 1.95, so they met expected growth. A 2 would have been exceeded growth. So they were so close, but looking forward to seeing where that takes us this year and looking forward to exceeding growth with our students this year. Grade level proficiency, I don't know that I've ever seen this happen before, but we were 51.3% proficient in reading and math. So they were the exact same proficiency. So they're consistent, 68.8% proficient in science. We saw increases in proficiency in all areas with the exception of third grade reading, and working on that this year so that we see an increase in that area as well. All of our 3rd through 5th grade teachers did meet or exceed growth this year. So we're very proud of those teachers last year and meeting the growth standards. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Russell, who is our curriculum coach, to talk about some of the support that we are offering.
All right, one of our big supporters at Norwood is Michelin Tutors. They send 6 people in twice a week for 30-minute sessions to tutor our 2nd and 3rd grade students. They also provide books to our K-1 students monthly, and they come in and read those books to kindergarten and 1st grade. Weekly, we have PLCs, planning sessions, we have teacher leadership opportunities, coaching happening at Norwood, some vertical alignment of the standards, ongoing professional development. We've had some engagement, professional development, number talks, and guided reading that kind of stand out this year. Bi-weekly grade level planning, and then we've also implemented the PBIS framework this year. Learning is alive and active at Norwood. With the engagement PD, we see a lot more of our students up, talking to each other, doing some project-based learning, collaborating with each other. So you can kind of see in the picture some of those things highlighted. Here's
What
another.
do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
All the different teachers in each class, you get all the different ways to learn to help each student learn differently and prevent and grow in each subject with the different
She basically highlights
just one way. There's many different ways to benefit.
at Norwood.
Let's try it.
Try it again.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
All the different teachers in each class, you get all the different ways to learn to help each student learn differently and prevent and grow in each subject with the different events. It's not just one way. There's many different ways to benefit in that one subject.
So we thought it was really neat that she recognized that each teacher had different styles of teaching and delivering material, and it allowed every kid to kind of find something that worked for them. This year.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Thompson, and she's going to finish up with our engagement and leadership piece.
So, being new to Norwood, the three of us as a team, we began to put our heads together. What made this growth occur? And obviously, it's strong pedagogy. But then, what are the other components? And it's community, family, and it's social emotional development. It's that learning piece where we're holding students accountable for their social interactions with each other and with the community. And so, really, that is what has spearheaded our efforts to start the good work that's going on at Norwood. So off the bat, we started with student advisory. Leah, who did one of the questionnaires, she is on the student advisory panel, and students were immediately outcrying for engagement. They want to be in their community. They want the community to be in with them, as do parents. So some things that we've started this year, we didn't want to overwhelm our students or our staff, but we wanted to get a good start. So we have a student advisory council. Already they organized a community food fundraiser for Thanksgiving. And this group organized K-5, who was to bring what item to the community table, and they ended up supplying I believe it's over 100 meals for Norwood community, all student-led. We also had one of our newer teachers to come in and want to do running club. So we're really trying to promote school in and out of sessions. So that's a really good thing. And then we've started robotics. One of the things that we have taken a lot of pride on is project-based learning in the Plan, Do, Study Act. It obviously is not required, but our teachers have been very fond and interested in the Plan, Do, Study Act framework. And with that, that gives our students autonomy to make the decisions about what they're learning, when they're learning, and how they're learning it, which is a differentiation piece. So you can see here, we did a Letterland parade this year, which was new for Norwood. We invited our community, our families, and the hallways were lined with parents and community members who attended our Letterland parade. There you will see the community police department and fire department came together with us to plan a fundraiser meal for the community, and it was a big success.
Good morning. Tell me what you love about Norwood Elementary School.
I love the principals. I love what they do for us. I love the teacher. I love the guidance people. I just love all the teachers here because they're very helpful. And then when you ask them to do something, they do it nicely.
I love about when our teachers teach us about science. I love our teacher when we do reading, science, math, and recess.
So then, again, more of our community involvement and collaboration. We were part of our Norwood Parade this year. Student Advisory also hosted a veterans breakfast. We had over 75 veterans come and join us for breakfast. It was a really great event from start to finish. That advisory council planned for their meal, planned their budget, planned how they were going to invite those community members. And our fall festival was a huge hit. In the spring, we're working with Reservoir Coffee to plan an art gallery. The student work will go into the art gallery. Also, Carols and Cocoa was a huge success. It was in the park this year. Reservoir came out with us and supplied coffee and hot chocolate. We had over 125 students that signed in. So that's new for Norwood, for our families to want to be out and want to be with us. And we encourage that. And then 5210 partnership, obviously, with Atrium Health is going well. We've had some good feedback from that, parents calling. Their children are coming home to educate them about cardiovascular health, being active in the community, so we're pleased with that. Our big piece this year is that social emotional learning and development. Every morning on announcements, we have a social story, the social cue to remind your peers or your teachers up for the day. And then we sing every morning, Stop, Think, and Choose. And we hold each other accountable for that.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
That everybody keeps the cafeteria clean.
And when you have an important decision to make, what do you need to do here at school?
Stop, think, and choose.
Every morning.
Stop, think, and choose. What does that mean?
You stop and you think about what you're going to say or do, and then you do it.
So every morning, stop, think, and choose. We've tried to invite our fifth graders on to sing with us. They are more reluctant than I am to sing on announcements. But we have seen our discipline referrals go down because the students are holding each other accountable for their own actions. I've heard several students sing to teachers, and I love that because we're holding each other accountable, and that's what it's about. So I'm just glad to be a part of that work. I will say this is my first year at Norwood. I'm from the northern end. I did most of my teaching in the city. And Norwood's a great place. So if y'all haven't been out to our school and what we're doing in the southern end, you need to come down because it's a hidden gem full of great students. So with that, wrapping up, we have intentional peer groups. We look at the data for social emotional learning. We meet with our counselor bi-weekly and we look at that behavior data. How are things going? Who needs to be seen? We look at trends in that data. What is a repeat? Are we seeing bullying listed a lot? Then we're going to meet with that. We're gearing our Title I events towards social emotional learning. We do what is called Turtle Talk with our parents. Stop, look at your surroundings, talk with your students about what's going on, and take control of those emotions. Again, morning announcements. It's a very special time at Norwood. If we miss it by a minute, you can guarantee a fourth or fifth grader has already made their way to see when we're going to do those announcements. We also do stakeholder shout-outs. Students and staff are welcome to turn in a shout out. Those are made on the announcements. And then weekly, those go into a drawing for students. If their name is drawn, they get a reward. So they are definitely trying to get their name on the announcements for shout outs. And then we are technically in the second round of the PBI's implementation model, but we're really working on living out those missions in the classroom, doing what we say we're going to do. So family and engagement, we've had a Thanksgiving meal this year, a Christmas meal. We're rebuilding with our PTO and parent volunteers, and then our curriculum nights. We are opening our doors and we are inviting and asking and welcoming our parents and community to come in and help us and be a part of what we're doing. So as you can see, Norwood is becoming the place to be. We believe that with the social emotional learning piece paired with accountability in teaching pedagogy, that we are going to grow.
What do you love about Norwood Elementary School?
I love that that you learn a lot and the teachers are nice and it's just perfect.
So thank you guys. If you haven't been down to Norwood, come see us. We have a lot going on. Our door's always open and you're always welcome.
Because it's just perfect. Thank y'all.
I must say I am impressed, especially by the little one that said he loved the math, the reading, and the science. At that age, I would have probably said recess, library, and lunch, or something like that. Okay, thank you, Ms. Seifert. Dr. James, Secondary Curriculum Support Presentation.
Chairman, Poole, and board members, I'm going to ask Christy Edwards, Teresa Crump, and Sarah Sineski if they would approach the podium. They're going to do a presentation tonight. I will say, if we've pointed this out with our data, the biggest part of our gains and success have been in elementary, and if you'll remember that each one of our elementary schools has an instructional specialist. Budget-wise, we're not able to do that in our secondary schools, but this team tries to carry 8 schools on their shoulders, so sometimes I'm sure it's a daunting task, but they're doing phenomenal work, and they're a great support, I think, for our secondary schools. And of course, hopefully in the future, as budgets improve, we may be able to add another person to this. We'd like to have 4 individuals so we can split 2 for middle and 2 for high. But again, they do great work, and we're working on a framework to try to accomplish what we're doing in our elementary schools and our middle and high schools. So with that said, we'll let them get started.
So greetings, board members. We have been very fortunate in Stanley County Schools in the last several years to have curriculum coaches at our elementary schools. And we wanted to come talk to you tonight about our roles as curriculum specialists. Like Dr. James said, our roles are a little different in that we don't stay in one school. We support content in multiple schools. So we wanted to take an opportunity, just to share a little bit of information with you tonight.
I'm Sarah Sineski. I am middle school math coach.
I'm Christy Edwards. I'm secondary lead specialist, so I work with high school and middle school math.
And I'm Teresa Crump, and I support the 6th through 12th grade English students at our 12 schools.
And the purpose of our role is to assist and support teachers in meeting the needs of all students, as well as to facilitate and support teachers in the implementation of North Carolina's standard course of study.
So this is just a little snapshot of what we do. I think the biggest piece for us is that we are able to provide equity among all schools. I am in every middle school 1 day a week, so whatever I deliver to them, it goes to all of the math teachers. I also think that we empower students to share resources. I'm able to see what the teachers are doing, and I know if one school's doing it and it's going to benefit another school, we're able to share through a platform that we have set up.
And just a few of the district initiatives that from last year till this year that we've worked on. So last year in math, we piloted the Math IXL program, and every math teacher had the opportunity to do it in their rooms. The ones that did, the feedback was unanimous that the students and teachers, we've got the data to support it, that really felt like it was a tool to help them close some gaps. It's not necessarily an instructional curriculum, it is to close gaps. But with our curriculum, we're thrilled to say with middle school math this year, we have Ready Math. And this is a 3-year process as far as our support that we have. Sarah and I set up the professional development and curriculum associates send in specialists, and those specialists work with our middle school math teachers. All 4 middle schools get the same exact training. Sarah and myself are in those trainings, so we're also hearing exactly what is said, so we can both support all of our math teachers and our students reap the benefits of that.
And the English teachers, 6 through 12, all have access to USA Test Prep this year. In past years, we've only had that for our English 2 students who take an EOC, and this has been well received by a lot of our teachers. We know that our students test a lot, but it's hard to create a mock EOG or EOC without a database of resources a lot of times, and so USA Test Prep provides that. It allows me, for the high school teachers, to push out common benchmarks, and so our students at South take the same benchmarks as our students at North and Albemarle and West and the early colleges, so that we have very comparative data. And like Sarah talked about with equity, it gives those teachers who have strengths here opportunities to share with teachers who need, some help in this area. So USA Test Prep has been helpful and well received from our teachers. Something else that we've done district-wide, we saw a need to support English teachers. You feel like as an English teacher that you teach all the standards all the time. You're always teaching your kids how to read and write and speak and think, and so it's hard sometimes to delineate which standards you've done a really good job teaching and which you haven't. So this summer we created like standards bands. Like every 3 weeks we're going to focus on these standards, and every 3 weeks we're going to focus on these standards. And so throughout the course of high school semesters or the full year for our end of grade or our 6th through 8th grade, students will be exposed. Those standards will be taught multiple times in a spiral. That's how the English curriculum is designed anyway. So also we've been able to put together resources to help support teachers, so they've appreciated that as well.
And with math, one thing that that I really paid attention to last year that wasn't going on was that we were not using the same assessments throughout the county in middle and high school. And that can tend to be a problem because our kids deserve equity, and our kids also need to be held accountable equitably. And so one thing that we did this summer is I was very proud of a group of teachers that came together and spent a lot of their summer time building curriculum guides. And in addition to the curriculum guides, which includes pacing and resources, we also developed common assessments, common informant assessments for 6th, 7th, 8th grade, math 1, 2, and 3. So every child across the county is taking the exact same unit assessment, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, every single unit. Math 1, 2, 3, every single. So if you have children within the county that transfer from school to school, they should not be at a different place. That might be a day or two off, but they're going to be getting the same exact testing. In other words, by that, or the second part about the test that Teresa alluded to with ELA, same thing with math. With us being able to have our PLCs and discuss our data, it's very, very powerful when we're comparing apples to apples. If everyone's taken that same assessment, and we can look at, okay, well, Susie Q over here, her class did really, really, really well with geometry. And Bethy Boo over here, hers did really, really well with transformations. Then what we can do is I, the liaison, can go to Susie Q and say, tell me about what you did with your students. And then I can share that with other teachers. And also, we're blessed with Zoom technology that we can have PLC meetings virtually. And especially with the early college, because I have a Singleton and I have one math teacher here and 2 math teachers here. They have common planning, but I can't be in 2 places at one time. So on Fridays, I often have a PLC virtually with them, and I rotate between the 2 so that we can have a conversation together about what they're teaching, what they're doing, what's working, what's going on with the data. And then both ELA and math started off this year with a beginning of the year professional development. And it was really a good way to start the year because we brought all math teachers together, all ELA teachers together. We set some goals. We shared the curriculum guides. We talked about the purpose of the common informant assessments and that this is not something your students should dread. And it's all about how we bring it to them. That this is not an I gotcha. This is where are our gaps? What do we need to improve on? And so we really worked hard on rolling that out to the students.
Another thing that we spend quite a bit of time doing is seeking out professional development. We've got a slide later to show you some different conferences that we've attended this year. Because when you're in the classroom all the time, you're busy teaching all the time. You don't have time to look for that. So that's something that we've been able to do is seek out professional development but it's also when you go find something great, you bring it back and you share it. And we're firm believers that we have some powerful leaders in our own district, and you'll get to see later some of our own folks who have presented at conferences statewide. We have done some mini professional development sessions after school hours, and our teachers have led those, and we have really created that network where they trust each other and are very willing to share. So we have been involved in that, and that, again, like Sarah said, provides a lot of equity. And as having somebody as a liaison, you have information that comes to the state and we're able to send it immediately. Or if somebody goes to a professional development session and they find something great and come back, it can be rolled out in every PLC at every school. So that professional development has been key for us.
And as in PLCs as well, we talked about the data, so how we unpack the data, what is the data telling us, how are we going to move forward from that, unpacking the standards. A lot of times the math standards aren't very clear, so we have to sit down and pick them apart. We come to a consensus on that, what does this mean, and how are we going to best teach that and roll that out to students. And then supporting with the MTSS process, which is the state initiative.
And Sarah has been a great blessing for me with middle school. I appreciate it very much.
We have different roles, obviously, and we support our teachers differently. So we just wanted to give you a quick, this is just an approximation of how we kind of spend our time. I gather resources for teachers. We are beyond the age of textbooks lots of times, but it takes a lot of time to find quality resources. We really don't encourage teachers to go out and pay for things when we have quality resources, whether we create them or whether we find vetted resources from DPI or somewhere else. So I spend a lot of time gathering resources, corresponding. We have between our middle and high schools, we have 12 schools that I support. So I spend a lot of time corresponding via email. In a regular 2-week block of time, I visit all 12 of those schools and interact with those teachers. So that's, the bulk of what I do, and provide a lot of individual support, because we do have a lot of singletons. And even at a high school where you have 4 teachers, rarely do you have more than one teaching, one grade level. So, you meet with them for, to supply them with their needs. And of course, I get to do some other things. Today I actually got to work with some students and talk to some classes. So that was exciting, because there are days when I miss that, being able to work with my students. But you can see how my allocation of time is broken down and how that is similar and different to Christy and Sarah's.
So here's just a snapshot, and again, these are just approximations of what percentage of our week we spend doing different things. As you'll see, unpacking standards and data dives, as Sarah alluded to earlier, the standards from North Carolina, not only do they change quite often with math, but I am very thankful that a couple years ago, the instructional frameworks came out, and they continue to build on those instructional frameworks, and they really do add a lot of clarification in there, and that was a piece that was missing several years ago. But what I feel like I hope I have been helpful in doing is following the same model that our elementary coaches use for unpacking, and really teaching teachers and how to unpack. And then once you unpack and what it means, now what do we do with it? What's the best way to deliver this? And so through that, I will jump to the lesson plan development and the curriculum implementation. That's all one big piece together. As Teresa said, I do love still getting to work with students. Today I got to co-teach at South Stanley. Tomorrow I'll be co-teaching a pre-cal lesson at West. Those are the things that really, I think, bring it back home, is when you can help teachers empower themselves, and then you get to watch it in the classroom. Sorry, Sarah.
And then a lot of my time right now is spent with curriculum implementation. Like we said, the Ready from Curriculum Associates, they even told us, it's going to take a while for teachers to buy into this and for teachers to hit the ground running, but I have seen the teachers are already running with it, and it's very exciting to see. That's where I'm spending a lot of time, is researching and learning myself how to best help teachers implement the curriculum. I'm also providing MTSS support. I was lucky enough to have background on that, and so I'm able to help the middle schools start implementing that as well. And working with students, teachers are starting to trust me. Me being a new face and not from Stanley County, it took a while, but now they've embraced me, and I'm able to work with students a lot. They're trusting me with their students, and that makes me happy.
And this is just one piece of something that I feel like is a highlight and a shout out to the teachers and their hard work. And this is not all the data. You've probably seen this same identical information before, but I just want to point out, if we look at the one on the left, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, all grew. And I'm just going to talk about 6th. Approximately 35% increase in 6th grade. And that student skill, these percentages or these values are students that scored a level 3 or above on the EOC. So I think that's pretty powerful that we had a 15.7 increase. And again, that's approximately 35%. So very proud of them, very proud. And I think that just our support is a piece of the puzzle, and I'm very grateful for it. And then on the other chart in the bottom right-hand corner, this is comparing us to the state. So as you see, in 17-18, we were all below the state level in middle school. Math 1 was above the state level, and that's great. Math 3, there wasn't an EOC there. That's why it's blank. It's not that we don't have data. I mean, that we didn't put the data. We just don't have it yet. This past year, 18-19, was the first year that we did have it. And we are a little below the state, but that's okay. It was the first year, and I feel sure that next year you're going to see that far right column green. But I was very, very excited and proud of the students and the teachers that 6th, 7th, 8th grade and Math 1 all grew, in my opinion, tremendously. So.
And I have some different data that I've shown. You know, the standards for reading have not changed dramatically through the years. We still want our students to be able to write well and understand what they read. So about March of last year, I surveyed our teachers, our English teachers, and just tried to talk to them about how could you best utilize me. You know, I want us to use our money effectively. And so you can see that for a lot of them, English teachers, unpacking standards was not something that they felt like they really needed, but planning lessons and implementing best practices and providing resources was definitely something that, you know, they felt like they needed. And that's, you know, this year has been, you know, last year certainly was a learning curve for all of us, but that's helped me make decisions this year and, you know, how to best utilize, for them to best utilize me and for me to use my time wisely so that it'll be more efficient. One thing too, I alluded to professional development before. This is a quote from an email. Meredith Howe teaches English at South Stanley High School, and after we went to a conference in December, she sent me a thank you email, and this is part of it. And she said, this was the professional development I've been craving for 10 years. I'm so grateful we were able to attend, and I cannot wait to implement the book talk and book club ideas as soon as possible. You know, and you know, I'd like to think that because I have time to do research and look for opportunities, that was able to happen, and that maybe is a positive impact that I've been able to have on our English teachers and students.
And so these are some snapshots from teacher leaders in the professional development. A lot of these were from the beginning of the school year, and beginning of the school year, I was a fresh face. This was the first time I met all of the math teachers in one room, and within 2 weeks of going into the schools, we saw what we did in professional development being implemented immediately. So that was very exciting and very motivating for me. These teachers are awesome. You tell them one thing and they are trying it the next day. So it has been awesome to work with these math teachers.
And this is just a few of some engagement in action activities that I took, or I had actually, other teachers took the pictures of their peers doing this and sent them to me. And if you haven't seen on our Stanley County page, we do a Shining Bright, and we add pictures that either of students doing things in the classroom or teachers and students doing things in the classroom. This is just a snippet, but the reason I chose these three, these were all direct reflections of what we had done in PLC. They had taken what we worked on in PLC and applied it in their classrooms. And so I was very excited.
And we have on this slide just some of the conferences, some of the teachers who have gone. In the upper left-hand corner, Christy and Jenny Farmer both presented at our state math conference. And in the bottom left, those are some of our math teachers who also attended the conference. In the bottom right-hand corner, these are some of the English teachers who attended the state English conference. It was a weekend, so we went Friday after work, and then some more folks joined us on Saturday morning. And then the top right, this was the December, this was actually a national conference. It was held in Charlotte, but the gentleman in the picture, his name is Kelly Gallagher, and the lady who's the fourth one in the line, she is Penny Kittle, and they're both, you know, like, really well-known names in the teaching of English, you know, in reading, and we were just blown away by what they shared, but so fortunate and thankful that we got to go. Do you guys have any questions? And if you don't want to ask now, you know you can email us, but we're ready if you have any.
I think if nothing else, your presentation illustrates the fact that you don't stop learning when you start teaching. It's a continual process.
Lifelong learners,
And,
for sure.
Thank you for all you've been doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Melvin, may I make a comment?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say I have thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. And Ms. Sineski, I don't know you personally, but I do know that these two ladies are powerhouse teachers. And I know that for you to be in their company, you must be as well. And so I want to say something about Teresa Crump. Years ago, when I started teaching, I was so nervous. I didn't know what in the world I was doing. I'm sure any teacher in here may relate. But that woman right there took me to the library in Albemarle, and you opened books. And we went, and I think we had to put nickels or something in the machine and make copies. We did. That's how long ago it was. But we did. We made copies, and she shared all of her materials with me. So you were born for this. And I'm so glad that you're out there teaching our teachers what you know, and all three of you. Thank you. And nothing grates my nerves more than to hear someone say something like, why do we need curriculum instructors? What? This is why. We have increased data, we have comparative data, we have increased scores, we have people that can take the time, that know what good resources are, that know how to teach, that are out there doing the work. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. But we're only 25.
We're only 25.
So it couldn't have been that long ago.
Chairman Poole.
Anyone else?
Chairman Poole.
Yes.
I do want to say one thing these guys have rolled out that I've been passionate about is trying to use online support for students, because with the Common Core state standards, Common Core, again, same thing. But with the math, what I constantly hear is it's very difficult. And so when kids get home and ask the parents, we were taught a different way to do math. So when you ask the parent, a lot of times the student will say, well, that's not how we were taught to do it, and it becomes confusing for both. So we have a homework helpline that started this week. It's on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you can sign up for it. There's a link on our website. So again, we have professionals available. If a student needs help, they just go fill out a Google form, and they'll get up to 15 minutes. Is it 15?
Yeah, they can pre-sign up for a 15-minute increment, and if there's a little waiting room, and so if there's no one signed up for the next 15-minute increment, then the instructor can continue working with that student, but they know that they can sign up for at most one, and then if another one's open, they can come after it. But they don't have to sign up. They can just come to the waiting room, but we're trying to get the word out that we need them to sign up so that the instructors can prepare and make sure there's a place that they can tell what they're going to need help on. I mean, they could upload a worksheet, a problem, whatever, so that the instructor is ready and can hit the ground running the minute that 15-minute start. So it's not a tutorial. It's not the instructor's not reteaching the lesson. They're addressing specific examples, problems, addressing a question. And so I envision and I hope that there's going to be a need for more than just 2 nights a week, but we're just starting out with Mondays and Thursdays from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And our teachers just started rolling out on Monday, yesterday, and someone's already signed up for this coming Thursday. One of my teachers, the high school teacher, emailed me and sent me a little screenshot of it. She was excited.
And Christy, the middle school support, what was their name?
Mr. Patrick, James Patrick, is middle school support, and Pat Simone is high school support. And now that we've rolled it out, I have more teachers wanting to help. And so I hope that we can fill that need. I hope that the students will use it, and we will, it's like Field of Dreams, you build it and will come. You know, we, excuse me, we want the kids to have the opportunity to ask questions and feel comfortable with the response that they get. And like, I don't know if Dr. James said it or Patty said it, but sometimes even if the parent does know how to work it, they might know how to work it in a different way. And it's not wrong, but then the child doesn't feel that they are getting the correct explanation. And it can sometimes get confusing. I know my own children, and I'm a math teacher, but I know when my youngest was in 3rd grade, you know, the methods he was using was different than the methods when I was in 3rd grade. And so I think that there is a huge need for it.
I think I was sort of fascinated looking at the pie charts, and I'm thinking, gosh, you know, you're not spending much time with the kids. And then I realized that, you know, your work is as much with teachers as it is with the kids, maybe more so. But I think, too, that's the mirror of that, or the flip side of that is, I think a lot of people have the concept that a teacher goes to school in the morning and teaches to 2:30 and leaves and goes home, and that's the end of it. They have a pie chart too, and they have a lot of time they spend outside that classroom, you know, doing the prep work. And I think that pie chart illustrates that you guys have a lot of prep work with the teachers as well as just, you know, working with the students. But appreciate it. Anybody else? Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
You have copies of the December 3rd regular meeting in your packet. Are there any corrections or deletions or changes that need to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. Tonight, we need to decide on a date for our future board work session, and hopefully you have some items to go on our work session agenda. If not, we won't adjourn until you give me a list. But we need a little bit of time for the staff in case we have some things we want them to present. They need some time to sort of get stuff together. So I would suggest maybe the 3rd week of the month or the last week of the month. But I'm open to a date if someone wants to suggest a date. When? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We need to do it this month. Well, I talked to Miss Gibson a while ago when I talked to her, and we were talking about the Saturday thing. The only thing about the Saturday thing, it causes staff to have to come in an extra day, and does that make sense? I mean, if we can do it at night, you know, that makes a long day for the staff too, but at least they don't have to come back in on Saturday. So. Somebody suggest a date. 23rd, what is that? In first? Is that a Tuesday? Okay. We got the 21st. Anyone else want to try another date? If not, we'll go with the 21st. It's Tuesday night, and we can start at 6 o'clock. If we start an hour earlier, that way we won't be staying so late. That sound okay? 6 o'clock. 6 to 9, maybe a 3-hour block. We can do that in staff development room. And if you would, before you leave tonight, slip me some topics that you want to talk about. Next item is State Division of Archives. Got my name out beside that. Well, all right, new resolution. Okay. We need just, need a motion to,
Yeah, Chairman Poole, I'll make a motion that we, as a board, accept the 2019 local government agencies general records retention and disposition schedule.
motion by Mr. Graves for us to accept the 2019 local government agencies general records retention and disposition schedule. We have a second by Mr. McIntyre. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. This needs my signature too, right? All right. All right, Center of Services or Preventive Services Survey.
Yeah, Beverly is out sick tonight, but there was one question in the survey that the board had asked me about, and I did confer with the owners of that survey and was assured that there wasn't an issue removing or correcting that question. Beverly actually met with the health, PE health teachers, and actually let them go through the survey, and none of them had any questions they thought would be inappropriate for our students. So we just need the board to approve to move forward with that survey. And again, I'll reiterate with that group that the one question we want some adjustment on, but I was told up front that wouldn't be an issue.
I can't see how that question would have affected that survey anyway.
No.
So we need a motion to proceed with the survey.
I move that we move forward with the Center of Preventive Services survey.
Motion by Ms. Crump to move forward with the Protective Services survey. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Graves. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I would just like to ask, what approach are we going to take as far as making the parents aware that this is going to be occurring? Because I know it's not a consent to participate, it's an opt-out. So my biggest thing is just making sure that parents, guardians are aware that this is occurring.
So since y'all have approved it, or moving to approve it tonight, what we'll do is get it out on our social media, our Facebook and Twitter feed, that there's a survey coming up, and that the parents have every option to opt out, that it's not a mandatory survey. That's one of the reasons we brought it to the board. I know that there have been some controversial surveys in some other counties that have hit the news, and that's one of the reasons we gave our people the opportunity to go through it and make sure that the questions were as least obtrusive as possible. But this organization, of course, I've had several questions from some of the board members. What they do is an organization that puts together prevention programs, and of course they look for counties that have the data so they can partner with. And of course, with our opioid crisis here in Stanley County, unfortunately, they definitely want to collect the data so they can, again, on their behalf, offer programs through the grant that will help educate our kids on opiate abuse. And we talked about some of the e-cigarettes and other things that are going on, but we definitely will put that out to parents. And what I'll have the principals do is let each school do a school message that just says this is an optional survey. If you feel strongly that your child shouldn't participate, then just sign the opt-out form and send it back to us.
And I know you and I talked earlier today about this, but just so the rest of the board's aware too, but you said that they could share or possibly even sell the data they collect.
Well, they
You wouldn't specify this is from Stanley County.
They can only share directory data, which is legal for anyone, the armed services, and so that's pretty well non-descriptive data. But if it's student-specific, no, it's covered under FERPA. So my hopes are, and then I'll make sure before we move forward that you definitely don't want Stanley County out there in the headlines saying, we have 90% of our kids, abusing opiates. So I think what they're trying to do is look at the aggregate data and decide from that data what programs to implement. But I will make sure of that, and then my weekly update, I'll let you guys know what their answer is. But they're not trying to sell it or make a profit off of it. They probably have developed these programs and have written the grant and received it, and it's a way for them to help themselves roll out some of the programs they're passionate about. And a lot of these grants, that's the way they're written. But I'll make sure of that and let y'all know in the weekly update that we want some guarantees in the MOU that it's not going to be Stanley specific. It'll be aggregate data. They'll share the data with us, of course, internally. So, but I'll get that answered for you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Here none.
Well, of course, I'm not the expert in psychometrics, but of course they have an IRB, so having a doctorate, I had to go through the same process. So they have to validate that. They've been using it in Charlotte for 30 years. So that's how they built their programs. And of course, writing the new grant, since we were in the headlines for opiate, abuse or emergency room visits, what have you. Of course, they sought us out to try to help with some curriculum in our schools. So I think our benefit from it is we'll actually have some form of curriculum that we're not having to teach and pay for, that we'll get to vet and make sure it's appropriate for our kids. But during health class, of course, our kids, sort of like DARE program, the kids can get some education on the effects of opiates, and so our hope is education, so when they become adults, they're not opiate abusers. I think it's a cultural change, and you're a PA, of course, know a lot more than me, but actually dentists were told to prescribe OxyContin for pain for teeth 20 years ago, and didn't realize that in 3 days you could become addicted to opiates. So it's just, I have to sort of lean on their respect, and of course several of them are, they have an IRB, which had to go through a university and get approved, probably UNC Charlotte. But any of those questions, if you'll just shoot me an email on, I'll get them to answer. They're the experts in that area, and I don't want to speak for them, but that was one of the things it's already been validated. So if you change a bunch of questions, and a lot of times they'll give you multiple questions that sort of ask the same thing, so they can validate the answer to that question. And some people think, well, I've answered that before. Well, you did, but they're trying to see if there's a trend, sort of like some of the monitoring data we've got. If you get 3 data points going in the same way, we can give a trajectory of a student's performance. But if it's all over the map, I can't predict anything. So I think again, we'll make sure we do our due diligence and get parents out to get them to understand. We definitely don't want this to be upsetting to parents. I think we do have a problem in our community, and I think it's just a way to use some resources to try to address it before they become, our young kids become adults and productive members of society. So, but if you got any of those specific questions, just shoot them to me and I'll get them answered for you.
One last question I did have, and I realize they're going to use the data to help implement programs to help the local community. Do you know if they ever utilize data to go, say, testify before lawmakers to influence? I've been curious about that. Okay.
I want to get all your questions answered. We don't have to rush to it, but I want to get all your questions answered.
Dr. James, quick question. So we talked about this, was it last month? Was this when it first came up? How many calls did the central office receive from the community, staff, anyone regarding this within the last month?
We've not received any.
Okay. I was just curious. Thanks.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll call the question. Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Next are committee reports, which should be brief. I don't think anybody's met during the Christmas holidays, but we will go through them anyway. Instructional, Mr. Jeff Chance. No report. Facilities, Mr. McIntyre. No report. Mr. Graves.
No report.
Personnel, Ms. Watson. Policy, Ms. Crump.
Actually, in our last meeting, we did approve of the 4,000 series, but what we did not do was rescind the old policies, so we need to do that today.
Okay, is that coming from a committee, or are you just making, it is coming from a committee?
It came from committee, but we failed to do that during the meeting.
Got you. Okay.
So we just need someone to move that we rescind the old policies, and they're listed here in front of us. It's just a bunch of numbers. Do you want me to say it? Or?
Just read those real quickly, and then we'll vote.
All right. Policy 4085, equal educational opportunities. Policy 5060, relationships with students. Policy 4050A, children of military families. Policy 4010, immunization. Policy 4005, requirements for school enrollment. Policy 4020, assignment to class. Policy 4500, service animal policy. Policy 4055, taking a student from school. Policy 4135, student accident insurance. Policy 4140, communicable diseases or conditions, students. Policy 4110, child abuse, neglect, and dependency. Policy 4260, student sex offenders.
Okay, the motion to rescind those listed policies by Mr. McIntyre. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. At this point, Chair will announce the committees for the upcoming year, and I've contacted some of you about these. Some of you will be in the same place. Some of you will be making some changes to broaden your horizons a little bit and give you some different responsibilities. So starting out, and don't worry about writing these down. I'm going to pass a copy to you as soon as I read them off. Finance Chair for the next year will be Mr. Jeff Chance. Serving on that will be Mr. Ryan McIntyre and Anthony Graves. Facilities will be chaired by Mr. Anthony Graves, and Ryan McIntyre will be on that with him, and Glenda Gibson. Personnel will be chaired by Ms. Vicki Watson, with Ms. Patty Crump and Mr. Jeff Chance on that committee with her. Policy will be, and thank you very much, Ms. Crump. A lot of people don't want anything to do with this committee, and you've chaired it now. This will be the third year, so you're doing good. Or fourth year. Will this be the fourth year? Third year. Third. Okay. All right. Chair will be Ms. Patty Crump, and on that committee will be Mr. Anthony Graves and Ryan McIntyre. Instructional program, Ms. Glenda Gibson will be the chair, and Mr. Jeff Chance and Ms. Vicki Watson will be on that committee with him. And on this sheet that I'm going to give you, it's got the grievance committee panels that will take care of the grievances that come in. And also, I didn't put on here, but it's my fault that Ms. Miller didn't, or Hope did not put this on there. But the legislative liaison or thing will still be Ms. Gibson and Dr. James. I'm going to pass these down and keep it on your bulletin board for reference. It's also got a staff contact you'll be working with on there. Hey, Dr. James, you have curriculum and instruction.
Well, one of the rulings that come out today, iStation, was taken to court in Texas. This is where the company is originated from, and it's through the controversy with Read to Achieve. It was a vendor that was chosen by the state, then there was a stay put in place. The bad news is our teachers are still in limbo on what we're going to use for K-3 reading assessment. So the saga continues. Unfortunately, it's not what's best for kids. So the other thing I want to mention, we don't have an actual person that helps us. Well, actually, myself does it, and Hope and Michelle somewhere in the room. We actually work on any type of marketing or anything that goes out. We didn't fill that position, and you know, here or the other, what I've done is use the money that position would do to help market our school system, because I constantly get asked from the community on what you're doing. So this was mailed out to all K-8 students over the holiday break. It's 5 pages, and it highlights some of the great things we've got going on. And one thing that I keep telling our homeschool parents, if you have a homeschooler that's in high school, you really need to join SCOVE, because if you're going to take a college and career promise class as a homeschooler, you're going to pay for tuition and the book. And I can tell you 2 classes in the book will cost you about $750. So if you enroll with us in SCOVE, 2 courses, you don't pay anything. You can take the CCP course through us. So for nothing else, if I was a homeschool parent, I would definitely be looking at SCOVE. But this highlights a lot of the great things that are going on. We're going to do this 4 quarters a year. We hope to get out the overflow that we have in Hope's office out to businesses throughout the community. So when people are in dentist office or doctor's office, they can actually read about some of the great things that are going on. It has some of our data on it. So that's one of the things we're trying to talk to the community about, is some of the programs we offer. Actually, if you look in this flyer or program, you'll see some of the great things that you can actually, Associates of Arts. There's a 2-year degree that you can accomplish through us and pay nothing if you're part of the school system. So we offer a lot of great things and a lot of money-saving opportunities for homeschool parents. And again, I fully appreciate the reason some parents homeschool, but you can take advantage of both us and homeschool, and that's probably going to be the wave of the future. Homeschool is growing by 15% a year, and so there'll be some changes there, but a lot of great things going on. If you haven't looked on our webpage, we also do a focus magazine where the schools highlight some of the great things that are going on curriculum-wise, curriculum nights. And tonight you got to hear some of the great things we're doing across the district. And again, I'll say we have 21 schools, and to say that we only had 1 low-performing school out of 21 is pretty phenomenal. A sister county north of us is a restart model. That probably gives them away, but they were a restart model because over 50% of their schools were low-performing. So they kept applying for restart coverage and realized that with 50% of the schools being restart, we might as well make the whole district restart. It does offer you a lot of flexibility. We had a legislative meeting this morning, a great meeting. I think we got a lot accomplished, and I think we all want to do what's best for kids, and that's what we come away with. So we'd love to get everyone in the community on our page. The worst thing you could do, my pastor told me this one time, Chairman Poole, don't let anybody talk about your pastor. So I'm going to tell the community, don't let anybody talk about your school system, because you're not doing any credit to the schools that are, the kids that are sitting in our schools. You're hurting their education. So sometimes I wish the adults would think about before they make comments. It's affecting the kids that sit in our classes. And I can assure you, I meet with them quarterly, so they'll tell you that great things are going on. And a lot of the changes we made with the magnet schools come about what the kids are telling us they would like to have. If you cannot get it in Stanley County, you cannot get it in the state. We offer what everyone else offers. There's a state curriculum guide. We're required to offer any class that we can get the number of students to take. If enough kids sign up for basket weaving, I'll go to Asheville and see if I can find somebody to come teach basket weaving. But the kids have to want it. It's driven by demand, just like the community college. If you don't have enough kids wanting the course, you cannot do the course. So again, great things are going on, and the more we can get the community behind bragging about our school system, the more industry will take notice. And I keep hearing that we're on a decline, but if you just read the recent report I did, in the last 10 years, growth in Stanley County is up 6.3%. Might have that, I do transpose, it might be 6.03, but it's 6% It's north of 6%. Housing starts last year were the highest they've been in 5 years. We're not declining, we're going up. And we do that by having a great public school system in our county and bragging about it. And I tell our teachers, you're the best marketing tool we have. When you go to church, don't let somebody talk about your school system. You need to set them straight in church. We have great things going on. You heard it here tonight. So the way to improve this community is to talk about great things. And I love the article somebody wrote, let's quit villainizing everyone that has a different opinion. Let's have conversations and work it out. We can agree to disagree and still be civil. So again, great things going on. Our curriculum team is doing a great job. And I will tell you, again, these people that are critics and legislators just need to walk into a classroom and spend a day. Hey, spend 15 minutes in a classroom, and some of them would say, oh my gosh, we're dealing with we're seeing unfortunately, the effects of the opioid crisis come into our kindergarten classes now. So teachers got into it to teach kids, not to be a psychologist, a social worker, and all the other things we're asking teachers to do. So there's never been a time like this with the type of student we're dealing with. And you heard from Norwood some of the great things we're having to do. Social emotional learning, we never heard about that when we were coming through. I did hear about a paddle, got to feel one a couple times. But social emotional learning did not exist. Trauma-informed counselors did not exist. So again, it's a different world. We have a different group of students. If you don't know, they're called Generation Zers. They have their own world that's different than ours. So again, we're doing great things, and I would just like the community to applaud all the teachers that do not come to work for the paycheck. They come to work because it's a calling on their life, and I would say they're all life changers, every employee that works for a school system, because I can assure you they're not here for the money and the benefits. They're here because they love kids, and they're changing lives, not life changers of the year. They're life changers of the day. So again, curriculum instruction, we're doing great things, and we'll continue to do so. Any questions?
Mr. Calvert, you're up.
An updated copy of the personnel agenda was placed at your place. Last-minute additions were added in red. Section 1 requires no action, but Section 2 does require action.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre to approve Section 2 of the personnel agenda. Do we have a second? Second, Ms. Watson. Any discussion or questions? If there's none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Ms. Harvey?
You should have two amendments in your information tonight. Budget Amendment 1 is for our school safety grant that we received and for the amount of $188,241. Budget Amendment 2 is for another grant we received, which was a Restore grant in the amount of, for this year, the amount that I'm bringing for the amendment is $295,231.88. This is, it is a 5-year grant. Our total is $1.4 million. It's a joint grant with Montgomery County, and again, 5 years. So this is the amount for this year.
We have two budget amendments. Need a motion.
Move approval of Budget Amendment 1, state funds.
Okay, motion by Mr. McIntyre to approve Budget Amendment 1, state funds. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Chance. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Move approval of Budget Amendment 2, other funds.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre to approve Budget Amendment 2 for other funds. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the chair would just like to make a point that these grants don't just fall out of the sky. There's some legwork goes into these, and we appreciate very deeply Dr. James and the staff, or whoever else is involved in putting these grants together. Thank you. We have no one signed up for public comments. Dr. James, we'll make yours short since you just had a long one.
I'll try to be short, but, well, I am short, but I'll try to be short in my speech. But one of the things I would like to recognize is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day Thursday. We've asked our SROs to join us at the principal meeting so we can recognize the great work they do in our schools and how important it is. You just mentioned the safety grant, so that's allowed us to add an additional 2 officers to what we already have with the city and county. The other thing I would like to mention is just commend the community here for stepping up on the quarter-cent sales tax. There's some statistics that aren't great. We ended 2019 with 45 school shootings in this nation. Yes, that's America. So we done the right thing when we worked together as a board and a commissioner board to get the quarter-cent sales tax passed. We actually started getting that revenue this school year. And I would say that we're about 80% complete on the list that we told the general public that we would adhere to. And I know that the pundits out in the community would say, well, they would drudge up history and say, well, you didn't do, it doesn't matter. We have done what we said we would do with the quarter-cent sales tax, and that is to make our schools more safe. One child's life lost is one too many. So we have done a ton of safety work at our schools, and we continue to do that. As a matter of fact, this Thursday we do a smart button training, which is an emergency response button that can be on every cell phone and every computer to school. So it gives us even a quicker response if something occurs on our campus. So we're doing that training with our SROs involved in that because they'll also have this response system. And Todd, I think, is contracted to do 10 or 11 of the security vestibules, which is the biggest part of getting things done because it requires some construction. So once we have those completely done, we'll be about 95% complete on the list. And actually, we've added things to the list. So we're doing everything possible to make our schools safe so they're not targets for those in society that would, try to do harm. And, the other thing I would say is there's a huge need in our state for additional social workers, nurses, psychologists, and other mental health supports. And that's one thing our state has got to recognize with the children we have coming in affected by some of the opiate abuse. And again, I've gave you the statistics before, but some of the national statistics say as much as 40% of our births that are coming now are affected somehow by drug abuse, whether the child be addicted or cognitively impaired by the mother taking drugs during pregnancy. So again, we have limited resources, but we're asking more and more of our teachers, so I think we have done a great job as a board of trying to work to make sure our schools are safe and provide those resources. And you mentioned grants. I actually looked at the number this morning. We're up to about $12.8 or $9 million in grants in the last 20 months. And when you say it takes work, it does. You can't, people say, well, hire a grant writer. You can hire a grant writer, you wasted your money. Federal grants require a specific protocol, and it takes years to learn that protocol. You'll just waste your time writing the grant. So we know that protocol, our team works hard, and we do our best not to add anyone to the payroll. We just assume additional responsibilities because we want every dollar possible to end up in the classroom. So I will tell you with the Restore grant, we're adding 4 additional positions in our 5 most at-risk schools, which unfortunately tend to be in our city. It's not saying that it's all city schools, but that's where our highest free and reduced lunch is at. And the grants are specific on free and reduced lunch for you to be eligible for them. But again, we're putting an additional social emotional person in those schools, some additional paraprofessionals through the grant for the next 5 years. So these grants do help us to go out and solicit money where we're not being funded by the state or locally. But again, there's only so much taxpayers can do. So we are appreciative of the community stepping up and putting confidence in this board and this leadership to vote for the quarter-cent sales tax. And I can tell you, I'll be doing an update to the board and the community. I think the community will be amazed at all the things we've accomplished in a short amount of time of making our schools safe. So again, I appreciate the leadership. I appreciate the community for stepping up, and I think you're going to be proud of what we've accomplished in our schools.
Thank you, Dr. James. Mr. Graves, we'll just start with you and work this way.
Thank you, Chairman Poole. A couple of things. First, in no particular order, first, Happy New Year. And I do hope everyone had the staff and parents, families, everyone that's part of Stanley County Schools had a very restful holiday, because it's obvious that everybody put in a lot of hard work last year, particularly based on the presentations that we saw ever since the beginning of this new school year. Super impressive, and tonight was no different. And so I wanted to highlight the presentation from Norwood Elementary. It was another fantastic presentation talking about all the amazing things that are happening at the school levels. What struck me, though, was that if you paid attention to the school system for any period of time, there were schools that were called out from time to time as far as having issues, not significant issues, but issues. And Norwood, excuse me, was one of them. And what strikes me is how a change in leadership and some additional support from the central office by way of resources can have a tremendous impact on any school. And Norwood is just another example where we've seen a success story where there's been new leadership put in place, not only at the central office, but at the school level. And you have a core of teachers down there that have been teachers there for a long time. So you have the same teachers, but that are doing a better job and maybe even more enthusiastic about showing up to work every day because they're all proud and excited because they're seeing all these positive results in their classroom. So it's exciting to watch, having been paying attention to the school system for the last decade. So that was a super impressive presentation. I was glad we got to see the videos and we got to hear the students because that was great. The presentation by our curriculum coaches, I have their names written down here, but I don't want to mispronounce one of them, so I won't mention any of the three. But I will tell you this: I'm not surprised. Two of the three, I've had the good fortune of talking with on several occasions, and one was able to visit her at a local school here last year quite a bit. And the work that they're doing is absolutely phenomenal. Their presentation was fantastic. And I kept looking down at my phone to see how many people were watching Stanley TV on YouTube, and there were 2. And unfortunately, we had a bunch of people leave before they got to see the presentation as well, which means that a grand total of maybe 100 people are actually going to ever get to see that fantastic presentation. And it's a shame. Fortunately for us, we have the media here, and I'm hoping that through working with Dr. James, maybe we could get some exposure about the curriculum coaches and things, the work that they're putting in, because it is having a tremendous impact around the school system. And it's stuff that's, if you don't show up to a school board meeting, you don't even know it's happening. Like a lot of the positive things happening in the school system. So that was fantastic. I also wanted to say that I thought that this homework helpline was fantastic, and all of the things that I just mentioned, including the helpline that's new. I'm really excited about seeing this. This is something I've given Dr. James a hard time about not hiring a PIO, because I said he is our PIO. Every teacher is our PIO. Every faculty and staff member of Stanley County Schools, as well as the board members, we're all PIOs. But this is fantastic, and all the information that was contained in here, is outstanding. As a matter of fact, I had a parent come up to me 2 days ago and asked me about the SCOVE program, and I didn't have all the details, so I asked him to call the central office. But here's information on the second page inside of this brochure about the SCOVE program, which is amazing. And if you look at our early college information that's included in here, you hear all the talk in this election year about free education. We've got free college. It's part of our public education system right now for students that take advantage of early college. You can get a free associate's degree. That is unbelievable. You don't hear about that in the news. But so we've got some exciting things here happening in Stanley County. I just want to thank Dr. James for all of his hard work. I know I do that frequently, but it's well deserved. And last but not least, because I know there's a lot to cover, and I know the other board members will go over it, but Jennifer Schneider, I want to congratulate her on the award that she received. I met Jennifer when she started with Stanley County Schools and started the STEM program with Kelly Dombrowski, who's the principal. And I'm not surprised at all. She won the award from the very first time I spoke to her. You can't doubt her passion and commitment and enthusiasm. It's obvious. No matter what she's talking about, she's eager to share what she's doing and what her students are doing. So I'm glad that she got the recognition because it's well deserved. So I'll leave it at that. Chairman Poole, thank you.
Mr. Crump.
I want to start out by saying how much I enjoyed the Norwood Elementary School's presentation, and I want to come and spend some time there with you just to have a tour and talk with you guys. Maybe over the next week or two, I'll give you a call. That's fantastic, all the good news that's going down there. I went to school there myself, so I have a special love for Norwood Elementary. I also want to put your focus on this wonderful resource. In addition, Mr. Graves just mentioned this mailer that went out on Stanley County Schools to update people on what's going on with Stanley County Schools. But also go to the website, and if you look under news, you can scroll down and find the Stanley County Schools Focus, FOC, and then US, Focus on Us, I guess. It's about a 25-page December edition, and then you can go back quite a few months that this has been generated. And I try to take a peek at it each month. I have been so impressed. I don't know who is putting all of this together, but thank you. That would be who? Thank you. The PO that doesn't, the principals. I'm sure there are a lot of hands in that. It looks great, and I just saw some kids, friends' kids in there the other day, and I sent them a shout out and told them they needed to look. So spread the word that we have this media that we can share with people when they want to know what's going on with Stanley County Schools. And on that note, I do want to say something, and it might take the mood down for just a minute, but I'm going to go back up. I got myself into a conversation with another community member over the holidays. And this conversation started out a little, it was neutral at first, but I felt it could go rocky because we've stood on opposite sides of consolidation versus community schools. And it quickly went there. And I will say that I became very, very frustrated because I don't know how to fix different attitudes and different beliefs. And some of the things that we discussed was this individual had sent his child to Greystone and was talking about how much better of a school it was than any of ours. And I got very defensive and said, but do you know this and do you know that? And I started spouting off things that we were doing. And he said he had had many conversations with Dr. James. And he says, and he's always talking about all the good stuff you're doing. But the proof is in the data. The proof is in the data and all this stuff. I said, when's the last time you've been to a school board meeting? Well, I haven't. Well, you should come and you should listen or you should tune in. Read the media that's out like this. And a lot of the articles, like what Mr. Curcio has put out and others have been very positive. So as we talked, he did say, I I had to worry about my own child. You know, there are just distractions in the public school system. I guess those distractions would be kids with learning disabilities. I guess those distractions might be kids that might have cultural differences that he was referring to, or behavioral outbursts. And I asked him, you know, when I was a teacher, what do you do when you're educating a kid that became a parent at 12 years old? What do you do when you are teaching kids who were participants in gang rape? What do you do when you are talking to a kid who growls because he's angry because he was a victim of incest and now a participant in it? I don't know. I don't know how you get through to someone who says, I can only worry about my daughter. I said, well, I can't. I have 3 children, I worry about them too. I said, but I worry about all the other kids in public education, and that's why I'm in it. And that's why these teachers are here. And I'll continue to show up, and they're going to continue to show up, and they're going to educate all those children that might be distractions. To me, they're our future, and they're humans, and we have to love them. And for the record, that 12-year-old that was a parent, she's doing excellent. I ran into her in the Dollar General about a month ago, and she ran over to me and put her arms around me and gave me the biggest, longest hug. And she said, Miss Crump, y'all grew me. And I said, no, you grew me. That's what this is all about.
You were going pretty good there. I didn't know if you want to continue. Mr. McIntyre.
You make me follow. Man, you made me draw a blank. You took me to a whole other place there, sorry. But I definitely would echo what Mr. Graves and Ms. Crump have said. Congratulations to everyone that was recognized tonight. And thank you to those that presented. And, you know, to all of our teachers, our principals, the administrative staff, janitors, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, really just never forget the impact you make on our kids. I mean, even the smallest things, I can tell my daughter 100 times to do something, and she never turns her head. Like she doesn't hear a thing until I say, all right, I'm leaving. And then she runs to the front door and lines up perfectly. But today, right before I, actually came here, I got to see firsthand just how good they listen to other people. Because Nolan took a toy out of her hand, and she just looks at him and says, Nolan, treat others the way you want to be treated. And Jessica looks at her, she's like, what'd you do at school today? Like, she thought that she did something wrong. She's like, no, we just learned about it, Mom. So, I mean, they really soak it all in. And I'm sure they soak in what we tell them to after we tell them 100 times. But I do appreciate all that you do. And I will say, for anyone that thinks that Greystone is a better system than Stanley County Schools, or offers more than we can offer, they're simply willfully ignorant, because it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Ms. Watson.
I would like to echo everything that all of them have said. I was very impressed with Norwood's presentation. I know there's good things going on there. Our curriculum coaches, I was very impressed with that. So I know we're doing good things, and like one of them said, everybody's not there for the money, and I don't think this board up here is here for the money. But I think we're here to educate our children, and that's the main thing that we want to do. Thank you.
If I was going to make a living off of a board salary, I believe I'd have been bankrupt years ago. But living with a teacher and a daughter who's a teacher, I can assure you that they went to school, my wife for 32 years and my daughter now for 7, and they don't do it for the salary either. They do it for the education of our future. I'll just echo what all the other board members have said concerning those who've been recognized tonight. I'm very impressed also with Norwood's presentation and our curriculum coaches as well. Folks, if you don't think we're doing good things, these people don't have a reason to be up here and communicate to us the things that are actually going on. I assure you, this school system is far better now than it was even a year ago. It is far better now than it was when I served on the board previously. And there are many, many people to be thanked for and congratulated for doing that. And I believe Mr. McIntyre pretty much named off everyone in the system, and I agree. No matter what your job, you're important. And the job you do is important to see into it that the educational piece is key. I'd like to draw on a comment or make a comment about a meeting we had this morning. I believe Mr. Poole mentioned that we had or maybe it was Dr. James, we had a legislative meeting this morning with some of our legislators. Folks, if you don't believe there are troubles, don't go to Raleigh. Okay? Don't go to Raleigh. Raleigh's full of trouble. And I assure you, it's trouble that it seems is almost impossible to fix or is at an impasse, be it politically or otherwise, where everyone is being, for lack of a better term, thrown under the bus. A lot of finger pointing, a lot of he said, she said, a lot of, well, it's their fault, not ours. When it all comes down to it, the people who are suffering most from our standpoint in education are the kids, first and foremost, and secondly, the people who are in the classroom doing the job where the rubber meets the road. Those are the people who are suffering most because Raleigh can't get its act together and pass a budget, where they can't take some $700 million that has been mandated by state law to come to the school systems because they spent it years ago. And now we'll have to reallocate the funds. Well, where are they going to get it? Well, believe it or not, our state took in an extra $1 billion this year in income. What are they going to do with that? Are they going to educate the future of their children? Are they going to spend it on something else, like multiple lawsuits and what have you? So let me just say that we do have good people in Raleigh, and they are attempting to do good things, but it seems like they're often hitting a brick wall. There's an impasse there that just can't be gotten over. And that's sad. That's really sad. And with that said, Mr. Chairman, I'll get off my soapbox and turn it back over to you.
Well said, Mr. Chance. I think, to put it simply, I think maybe Raleigh has taken its eye off the ball, and I consider the children in the school system the ball. They've taken the eye off the ball and gotten embroiled in their personal egos and agendas, and that's just the hazards of the game sometimes. But one or two representatives or senators cannot turn the thing around themselves. But I'm hoping this was last November in Greensboro was when I became aware of this big deficit. And I don't know, Mr. Louder used to announce to us years ago how much we were getting in fines and forfeitures, and then all of a sudden it went away. And that money's been stockpiled there to the tune of in excess of $700 million, 740-something million, I think. But of course, it's not been stockpiled. It just hasn't been paid out. It's probably been spent on who knows what. But that money is due us. And what was flabbergasting to me is the Department of Revenue, which collects your taxes, is the biggest culprit in owing us fines and forfeiture money. So I think we got the point across to our legislators this morning that this issue was a concern to us, and hopefully they can start to resolve it in some way. And it would, I just think back about the times we've had to really skimp and pinch pennies, and then if this money had been coming, it would sure grease the wheels a lot better. But that said, I appreciate those that attended this morning. And yes, sir.
I may like to make one comment that I should have made earlier. I apologize. Despite what I said about the state legislature, we were assured this morning that there is an appetite, I believe is the term that was used, for that money being paid out at some point in some form or fashion. Yep. How that will be, I don't even know at this point, but at least they're not ignoring the law. Sorry, thank you.
No problem. I think, and I think the lobbyists that the School Board Association has in Raleigh are going to keep reminding them of it too. I think they realize this was a big chunk of money that should have been coming to us. I'd like to thank the board for working with me this past year. We've had a good year, and hopefully we can have a good year this coming year. And I appreciate very deeply the staff and all those out in the system that's worked very hard to accomplish these goals. And I'm sitting there thinking they were doing a little thing with Norwood School a while ago, said, you know, something about start out with C and then going to be the place to be. And I'm wondering what they're going to use when they hit the A. I'm not figured that one out yet, but I hope that's their problem next year to work with. But anyway, thank you very much for coming tonight. Without further ado, our next board meeting will be Tuesday, February the 4th, which happens to be my birthday. I'll bring the cake. It'll be in the Commons Room at 7 p.m. And Chair will enter February 4th, 20 at 7 p.m. Chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session for personnel matters under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6, student matters under North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1, and attorney-client matters under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3. And before you do that, thank you, Mr. Poplin, for your Life Changers presentation tonight. I'm about to slip me. I think it's really good to recognize people like that. We'll entertain the motion to this closed session.
Move to go into closed session.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre. Do we have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. 5-minute recess en route.